My favorite song.
Do you think we'll ever get to a point where we're not dancing when the
I
music
don't
ends?
know. I truly don't. It's one of my favorite songs. I legit sing it in my head when I'm just randomly doing things. What's up, y'all? Happy Sunday. Welcome back to Chill to Action on the Call to Action Network with me. It's your girl, Danny Joy here, hanging out with, as always, my favorite co-host, Mr. Paul Denuzio.
It's me. It's PLD. We've had definitely a fun weekend here on Call to Action. We had a fun little event that happened on Friday night, the last general standing. You should definitely go take a look at that. That was a lot of fun, a great big long. What Alex said was going to be an hour and a half show. Turned out to be, 5.5 hour show at that point? That stream went pretty long.
Something like that.
But it was well worth it.
Big deal. No big deal. I don't even remember who won. Like I don't have no idea like who won. I don't think it matters.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It was nobody important who won. I'll tell you that much. It was nobody important.
Anyways, if you didn't catch the last general standing, spoiler alert, it was Paul.
It wasn't me.
It was Paul.
That would never happen again because I'm not that good at trivia. I'm really not. I got people yelling at me saying I have like this like false humility right now and false modesty. I'm not that good. It was a perfect storm of a night. That's all I got to say about that. So that's why I'm going to retire because I don't want to besmirch myself anymore. So I'm retired. Oh. Yeah. But you know what? We're that's enough talking about us now. We have guests to bring on. That's what we do every week on Chill to Action. We take somebody from the Schmodown community, long-time Schmodowns, rookies, somewhere in between, and we sit and chill with them for a minimum amount of time. As we like to say, it's our second date because we started to know them already a little bit. So now we get to find out maybe a little bit more. So without further ado, we're bringing on the one and only, the one who is tearing up the singles tournament so far. She's got a big match this week. I'm sure we're going to talk about that a little bit, amongst other things. But without further ado, I hope she has Tank Girl with her because it would be upsetting if I don't get to see her at some point again. But it's Liz Shannon Miller.
Hi, everyone.
So good to see you. Thank you for coming on to our show. How are you doing this evening?
Oh, lovely. Tank Girl is running around here. She might be entering full of beans mode, which means that I can expect to be attacked at any moment. Or she might be entering cuddle mode. It's really, she's a very young cat, so it's hard to tell. But yeah, it's a nice, relatively pleasant Sunday evening here in Los Angeles.
Good to know. All right. Well, cats are always welcome. So.
Cats are always welcome on Chill to Action. It's a cat-friendly podcast for
sure.
Yes. Liz, thank you so much for hanging out with us on this Sunday. We really appreciate you spending this time. As usual, we always like to ask the same question to our guests every time, and that's how did you get involved with the Schmodown? Like, what got you started in playing and competing in the Schmodown?
So I think I first, I got, it's pretty common knowledge that I got in because of Ethan Irwin. The full backstory on that is I have known Ethan Irwin since maybe 2002. Approximately 2002, 2001, I randomly happened to work with his now wife. They were just boyfriend and girlfriend then, but we worked together on a student film I was making. And she had just moved to LA with Ethan. And so we became friends that way. And she and I are very close, and Ethan and I are really close as well. And so we've just been friends for a really long time. And I think it was actually 2018 when I first got told I guess that might have been Ethan's rookie year, or was that 2017? I can't remember.
It's all kind of flowing together at times, but a construct for me now. But it was right around that time that he was a rookie. I remember hearing about you right after his rookie year. So
yes. Yeah. So basically, like he basically was like, "This is a really fun thing I've been doing. You should do it." And I think it maybe took like an extra. Like I didn't join right away. I think I eventually connected with Christian, and he brought me in. And it's funny looking back on those early matches where I'm just kind of showing up and like not having any understanding of, like, you understand you go in and you play movie trivia. Like I'd watched matches beforehand, but like the actual everything of it is not something you understand right away. It's not something you can understand right away. But now having done this for 2 years. It's been really a really exciting, wonderful thing to add to my life. And even like with my parents, like when I started off, I was just like, I'm just doing this silly thing. And now I talk to them and I'm like, well, I got in the wheel round, and they're like, oh yeah, we understand. Like they become conversant in schmodown terminology.
It seeps in everywhere, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah, that's gotta be fun.
Well, that's great. I mean, we know that you started off like you kind of had a lot of hype to you. Like a Christian mentioned right away, like that. I believe Ethan's wife had said that you were better than Ethan. You knew more things than Ethan did at this point. So right away, everybody's like, "Wow, we got to see what Liz Shannon Miller can do." Then you come in, you have your first 3 matches, you win right away. Like you're 3-0. And it was you pretty much were showing that you did exactly have the hype was real.
Right.
You did run up into a small stumbles against 2 people, Paul Ayama and Ben Bateman, who were both in the middle of their big runs at that point. Yeah. You just ran up to them in the wrong time. And now this year you've come back, and it's like those 2 matches haven't existed, and you're winning all over again. How has that been as far as like your beginning when you had the big 3-0 run, you had your stumble, and now you're back? How has that whole journey been for you?
I mean, to be completely honest, and it's something it's something like Christian asks about a lot during like match interviews. Because I think Christian's just like, why is she doing better this year? But no, I think honestly, what the difference between those first 3 matches, which I handled pretty well, and then the other 2 matches was I ran up against the faction system, and like the first 3 people I played, JTE was part of a faction, I believe, but he was just basically being managed by, or he just basically had like Lon and Jonathan as his managers. Right. And so so those 3, like it was very different from the other 2. And I think like I made some catty comment where it was like, oh, I didn't know I could bring my friends to cheer me on.
I did remember that one actually.
After I think that was the Paul Ayama match, because I don't want to say I was intimidated by the fact that I walk in playing my theme song, and then like 5 dudes come in and like do their own thing. I'm not going to say I was intimidated by that, but it was a different vibe than like just coming in and sitting opposite like Demi or David Del Rio.
Right.
It was a different thing. So yeah, it's been a really crazy journey, but that's really what it comes down to is I didn't have a faction during those 2 matches, and I didn't really understand what having a faction meant, and then getting drafted in the swag, not even really knowing anything about it. I was just like, I just basically got a call like, hey, by the way, you've been drafted in the swag. Congratulations. Because I wasn't even at the draft, and
right.
I then basically said, okay, well, I've been drafted. That's a thing. But Winston and I met for a beer, and in the course of that beer, he really sold me on what he wanted to do with swag. He made it very clear he understood what kind of player I was, what I wasn't interested in doing, what I was interested in doing, and he, really convinced me that this was the right fit. And that was back when you could meet in a bar for a beer, so that was like 7 months ago. But in those 7 months, he really lived up to his word. It's been a wonderful experience. He's a wonderful manager. I don't know how next year will shake out, but I know I will be very happy to be working with him again if that does happen.
Nice.
Right.
I love hearing that. That's very sweet. It's such a bummer that we had to go through everything that we've gone through with this season, but it's interesting to know that as soon as you were drafted into swag, it was such a fun idea to think of the entrances and the walkouts, and how you were saying that other people came out with their factions before. So I would have absolutely loved to have seen that big epic swag walkout behind you. That would have been so much fun to see. Have you had a chance during this quarantine to talk to your faction mates?
Oh yeah, we chat semi regularly. They've been we've had training matches. And just like it's just kind of like a group thing. Actually, it's been really fun. I know that in the lead up to Chandru's IG match, we just basically all got on Zoom one night, and I think it was like, forget who else was there. I know Paul was there, and I had the Wikipedia page for the Harry Potter films open, and I was just like name who played this professor. And I was going like, we're going Professor Sprout level in deep, and he was killing it. But like, it was just like, it was really fun. It's been really fun just having people to train with. We do practice matches, and the thing is, like, in a non-pandemic setting, it would probably actually be harder to get a lot of people in the same space at the same time. Mm-hmm. And in this case, and especially like right now, like people are not in LA. But this has been, I don't know how other factions work it, but ours has been really, really close knit, I feel. And I mean, I'm looking forward beyond the singles tournament. I'm really excited to help with Chandru's training in IG, and then like the team's training as well. That's gonna be really, and I have no horse in this race beyond just wanting to yell trivia questions at Lon.
Right. Well, that's a good person to yell at, right? I mean, yeah. Well, did you know Winston before that at all? Or was it Winston's like when he drafted you? Was that he didn't even talk with you before?
No, I've never met him before, but right. I consider him a friend now. It's wonderful. The fact that we're making friends as adults in 2020 is on its very own is enough reason alone to love the Schmodown.
Right, that's true. And speaking of faction mates, you did have a team match this year with Adam Hlavik, Rogue 2. Is that still something that, I mean, if you were on a team together next year, is it someone you've grown? Did you have a good time with him? Did you have a good chemistry with him? Somebody you'd like to team with again?
Yeah, I had a great time with him. I feel really badly actually because I feel like in that match we spun DC movies, and I feel like I led him astray on one answer, and I feel like he has this reputation where it's like he feel like he wanted a perfect round. No, he's lovely. We just haven't had a lot of interaction. I think he's just extremely busy with other projects.
Yeah.
So I think that's a factor. I think that was the primary, beyond the fact that final exam is amazing. I feel like that was the primary factor in why he and I didn't go into the singles tournament, not the singles tournament, the team tournament. Yeah. But yeah, I would happily work with him again. I'd happily work with. I actually would happily do a teams match with anyone on my faction, certainly, and a lot of other people. Like
you have a choice. If you have a choice right now, like you had a choice, who would be your number one pick to be on your team? If you could team with anybody.
Faction one. This is tough, and I really want to stress that I'm just pulling this. Like again, everyone has such great knowledge. Like I feel like Bibiani. Like if I had to pick anyone, like I love Bibiani, and he's such a positive, lovely energy, which is totally my thing as well. And so I would love to potentially play with him.
All right.
But within my faction, I would also say like I feel like Paul is such a workhorse and just also so knowledgeable. But also he's a really good dude. Like I think like he, but like again, like literally, I feel like there's a very short list of people that you will not get me to talk about who I would not want to play for a team's match.
Fair enough. Okay, we won't ask to get you in trouble.
Yeah.
But speaking of Bibiani, choose Bibiani, and speaking of that, that's the big match this week. I mean, get through round one, then you kind of have the match against Chance, and Chance was on such a roller. We was talking about him Player of the Year. He did the IG tournament, won the IG tournament, and he was the guy to beat. And all of a sudden, you said no, nay, I'm going to take you out. And drip to the next round, and now you're facing the guy you just said you wanted to team with, which is the William the Beast Bibiani. Now, knowing that you wanted to team with him, like, how do you prepare for someone like that who just had a perfect game and he's been on fire as well? How's that training go? Yeah, I mean, I think there are two factors in it. There are two factors in this whole situation. One is that it's not that I didn't expect to beat Chance. It's just that I was like, I'm going to go in. I'm going to do the best I can. If I win, awesome. If not, I know I lost against someone who's really incredible. So I did not lose.
which was nice. And essentially at that point, the rest of it became gravy. It was like, it's like whatever happens next, I'm just happy to be playing the game still. So that's my big lead up to that. That's the attitude I come into playing against Bibiani. The other factor is just like, again, when losing to someone like Bibiani is such an honor, and he's such a wonderful human being as well. So it's just like a nice combination of things. So I mean, going into that match, it's it's every day. Every day you're above ground and you get to play the throwdown. Like, good day.
It's a good saying. I like that.
I feel like, did I answer your question? I feel like there might have been a component I missed.
I basically just want to know how you felt about going against Bibiani. I mean, you could just add on again. I mean, how confident are you?
This is actually. I was like, I meant to say something and I forgot to say it. I beyond the idea of occasionally like doing some brainstorming about wheel slices and what to put on. Right. And very specifically, the concept of finding the perfect wheel slice, which is something you can answer really well, and then something your opponent might stumble on. So right. If they get it, you're fine. If you get it, you're more than fine.
Right.
And that was like, so that was, for example, SNL movies was something I put on, and as soon as I got Spinner's Choice, I was like, bam, we're doing it.
Right.
But beyond that factor, I think I made a joke about this in my interview for the Chance match. I don't make dossiers on other players, like, because at the end of the day, it's you and the question. That's really all it is. It's like, you can train. That's what you have to train for. It's not you versus the other guy. Mm-hmm. I mean, usually, that is there, and there is strategy and so forth. But at the clutch moments, at the 5-pointers, at the wheel round, it's you and the question, and that's what you have to defeat.
Yeah, and that's exactly what you did in that match against Chance, and what like a weird, I can't think of the right word for it, but like just like the moment that you heard the question for your 5-point question, asking the year for a tank girl, and I thought this was really funny. I went back to watch the match earlier, and in your promo, you actually say your cat's name, Tank Girl, in it, and I thought that was curious. Like, I'm wondering, should we take an inventory of MTS competitors' pets? So we can know maybe that's what they're into.
Well, I think yeah, it's fascinating. Like, I mean, I was actually legit worried because we recorded that match. We taped that match like a month ago, or over a month ago, and so I spent like there was like a couple of weeks there where I was like, are you going to think I cheated? Because like, you're going to think I hacked? And I've seen people actually make Shimodarati jokes, which. Fair. But I mean, I basically, I really thought people were going to give me a lot more crap, right? And people are saying I got lucky, and I got lucky. Yeah, it's the Shimoda is all about luck. There's a huge luck component. Dan Roll got his wedding song in the match, like, and I think like that. And nothing has made me happier than that happening, by the way, because like at least you can like there's more than one example of crazy kismet happening.
Right, exactly.
I mean, the big thing with the Tank Girl match is that the Tank Girl question was that it wasn't just the fact that my cat is named Tank Girl. It's that the reason her name is Tank Girl is because I adopted her the day before the 25th anniversary of the film. So it's like, and I that's why I named her Tank Girl, is because I was literally tweeting along with Lori Petty and Rachel Talalay as they were watching the film on Amazon Prime that Monday. And I was like, you know what? Tank Girl could work you just say it enough times, because it didn't necessarily flow right away for me. But I was like, if you just say it enough times, Tank Girl's a fine name for a cat.
Absolutely fine name for the cat.
I agree. Or I absolutely love that movie. It's one of my favorite movies.
Thank you.
It really truly is. There was a time in the 90s where I had a huge crush on Lori Petty. So it was like Point Break, Free Willy, Tank Girl, like a League of Their Own. Anything that Lori Petty was in, I was obsessively taking it in. And Tank Girl was absolutely where like my punk phase started.
No, it's like that movie was perfect for like if you were trying to feel slightly rebellious as a young teen.
Yeah.
And
the time that I saw it, I think I was around probably closer, maybe a little bit older than the younger girl who's in that movie. And I just remember, I've always remembered that one scene with the ball that she has, that metal ball that turns into a weapon that just goes to the guy's hand.
Yes. Oh God, that's so good.
Such a badass scene. And my favorite thing about that movie, there are 2 musical breakdowns inside of that movie, like 2 solid musical breakdowns inside. If you have not seen Tank Girl, please do yourself that favor.
Yeah,
I've been seen this for years.
I'm going to ask someone in the chat to look up who produced the soundtrack for that film because it's an amazing soundtrack. And I think it was someone really badass, and I'm blanking on who it was. But yeah, if someone in the comments can please like look up, because I mean, it's like Courtney Love was involved. Was it Courtney Love?
Courtney Love assembled the soundtrack, and Graham Revel composed the original music. So yeah,
we're talking true grunge badass, and it's so good. It's like, I mean, like there's Bjork and Portishead and
L7 and Belly, Veruca Salt. A lot of good stuff in that soundtrack. That was a great soundtrack.
One of the great 90s soundtracks. And also like, I mean, it's just such a fun, it's like, especially like Rachel Taleli, like on during that Twitter chat was giving a lot of really interesting insight into how like the animated sequences in that film are largely to cover the fact that the people who were producing it wouldn't give her the money she needed to make certain sequences. Like it's not a critical favorite, but she did an amazing job with the resources she had. And Lori Petty is giving an incredible performance. Naomi Watts is really fun in a way that Naomi Watts has yet to. Naomi Watts doesn't get to do comedies, and I think that's a real shame. She's got great timing.
Yeah. Bobby York. There you go. It is a banger.
Yeah.
It is a banger.
How do you feel about the reboot that might be happening of Tank Girl?
I mean, I mean, Margot Robbie, I think it's like, I think I want to believe that Margot Robbie will find a new flavor of chaotic energy because, she's very good as Harley Quinn. I love her as Harley Quinn. But I don't know if I want to see how it works. But like, I think basically what it comes down to is I will be really excited for that movie if she shaves her head for it.
Yeah,
I think she would. I think she'd commit to it.
I agree. Like, I think she would too. But I want to see it first.
I get it.
One little tiff in it. I'd love
that. You got it. Yeah. With the one tuft. You need the one tuft.
So I haven't read any of the comics. I know that it's a comic book. I learned that maybe like a few years ago. Had no idea for the longest time in my life that it was a comic book. Have you read any of the comic series from it?
I have. I've read a little bit. I have in my far away from where I'm sitting right now. I do have like at least one graphic novel version or one trade paperback. The comic book captures the same energy, and I think it's also one of those movies where I'm really glad it was directed by a woman. Like there are a couple. There's like this one sequence near the beginning where she's like. There's more than one sequence where she where Tank Girl's like trying to seduce somebody, and it's filmed in a way that is non-exploitative and in a male director's hands that wouldn't necessarily work. Not to say male directors can't do that sort of thing. I'm just saying Rachel Taleli really killed it.
Yeah, that movie was very important for me. Like as a female, just in my life growing up, it helped me have this. It was my first really picture of like a strong woman that wasn't like your typical woman protagonist that you had seen at that point, at least for me in my life. So Tank Girl is always one of my favorite movies. So you winning on that question, or technically winning on that question, and then having your cat named after it was just beautiful.
No, it made me so happy. Like I could not have been prouder of that outcome.
That is awesome. It is a great movie. I'd like to see. I'm actually very interested in the reboot as well. I want to see what Margot Robbie has to do.
Yeah.
And just so everybody knows, and think back as soon as Liz Shannon Miller started saying something about Margot Robbie being great at Harley Quinn, Kelsey's in the back vigorously shaking her head, vigorously getting she's actually I had to stop her from coming on and talking about it, but we all know Kelsey loves Harley Quinn. So
Liz, I want to shift away from the Schmodown for a quick second and talk to you about TV, especially because you're a TV writer, and I've heard you say stuff about television, how long you've been writing in television. I think it's very interesting to see this sort of shift that about more women kind of being up front and in television, having stronger roles, different types of roles. Have you seen in your time writing, have you noticed the shift, like from women being on screen from then to now?
Absolutely. I mean, it's really funny actually, because I think I was having this conversation in my work Slack, and we were joking. It's like, because I think someone was complaining about how there's too much television right now, and it's like, why can't we go back to the monoculture where it's just 3 networks?
Right.
And I made some joke about like, yes, the monoculture, like famous for for inclusion and unique voices.
Right.
And they're like, yes, now only some shows are written by David E. Kelley. And I'm like, it's better than all shows being written by David E. Kelley. I mean, and I think that's honestly, like, it's been really wonderful just in general across the board seeing, because I've been covering TV as a journalist. I mean, officially for like several years, but really just like my entire life has been spent writing about TV on the internet, just occasionally not getting paid for it and occasionally getting paid for it. And I made it a full-time job at some point, and that's been a really lovely experience. The biggest thing is not only the study of television involves really kind of understanding both the fact that there is an auteur system to it, there is a showrunner, there is a voice behind most television shows, but then also really kind of understanding like the fact that there are directors, there's different power structures, there's a lot of, it's a very complicated, fascinating system where, for example, take Watchmen, where Damon Lindelof, it's Damon Lindelof's Watchmen at the end of the day. That's what, if you're making a short reference to it, you're going to say Damon Lindelof's Watchmen. Right. But Damon Lindelof has been very public and very open about the fact that he made sure that his writer's room was full of people of color. Mm-hmm. When they won the Emmy Award for Best Writing, it was really Cord Jefferson who wrote the episode that won. I forget if he is co-credited with Damon Lindelof, but he was definitely a writer on that episode. He was definitely one of the writers on the episode, if not the primary writer.
Right.
And he was the one who gave the speech. Like, I think like the really lovely thing that we're seeing happen right now is the fact that showrunners are recognizing the fact that multiple voices in their writer's room and not just like a didactic opinion make shows better. And like by championing new voices and like elevating them, it makes television better. And so it's one of the reasons why it's so exciting to watch TV right now.
It is kind of a golden age now in television. Do you have so many different options and more and more every day? How are you on these? It's actually almost early this or that question. I'm kind of been curious about. I'll throw it in now anyways. We're talking about it. Binging versus episodic. I feel like we had the whole thing where like all of a sudden Stranger Things came in and everybody's like, oh, this is great. We're going to binge everything now. And now we've kind of pulled back. Like, Mandalorian, for example, is one that started doing like, we're just going to do the regular weekly thing. Where do you stand on that?
It's fascinating. I think it comes down to the show, quite frankly. I think there are shows that genuinely benefit from binging.
Okay.
There are shows that need it, frankly. Like they need that, like, and maybe it's because the jerks involved have that, we're not making a TV show, we're making a 78-hour movie. That they have that mentality. So that's a factor in there. But I think like right now I'm kind of I'm TV editor at Collider. So I'm doing a lot of the coverage of The Boys season 2, which dropped 3 episodes at the beginning of the season and now is weekly.
Right.
So I think this is the penultimate week, if you will, of my Boys coverage before we do get into the post season stuff.
Right.
And it's a show, and The Boys is a show where if you were doing a binge review of the entire second season, there's so many fun details and so many important issues that the show raises that would probably get left by the wayside because you weren't talking about them on a weekly basis. I think there is, and I think the fact that The Mandalorian and Watchmen were running weekly last fall was a huge argument for the value of weekly television. And I feel like I don't mind having weekly television to watch. I like the routine. I like the regularity. And so yeah, I think it's a beautiful, valuable thing. But I also really do love the binge experience as well. So I think and I think the binge experience, what the binge experience does is it makes a more fun and more generous viewing experience for the viewer. Like, I think you forgive a lot of a show's faults if you can immediately move on to the next episode.
That's a good point.
Which is not necessarily good news in terms of criticism or quality of a TV show, but it is good news in terms of like, hey, you're a viewer. For the casual viewer who just wants to spend 3 hours on their couch watching a good TV show, that's a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
There's something wrong with just wanting to watch some good TV and at the end of the day.
110%.
And also because it's just in my brain. I was listening to I'm pretty sure it was a podcast that you were on, and I didn't read an article, but it was talking about Daybreakers, I think is the name of the TV show on Netflix. And I think you had just started it. It's about the kids in the post-apocalypse. It's a Ferris Bueller.
Yeah.
Daybreak. Yes. Is that what it's called? Daybreak?
Yeah.
Yes, and that was exactly how I felt about that show. I enjoyed that show very, very much, but it was also a show that I binged it in the time that it was on, and then I'm done with it, and I've never gone back to it again. But it's still something fun to watch. But right now I'm watching Lovecraft Country on HBO, and the episodicness of it is it's perfect for this type of show. So I love that. I absolutely love what you just said. So that was all that popped into my brain. I'm sorry.
No, of course. No, I think Lovecraft Country is a show I'm currently kind of quasi struggling with, just because it's like every week it's a new show. Like it's not the same show consistently. And so there are episodes I've really liked and episodes I haven't really liked. But the big thing with the thing I love is a show that's available for binging that does still also put a lot of care and effort into making the episodes distinct and interesting. That's, I think, a really important thing to do.
Absolutely. So what are your current faves in TV?
I mean, honestly, I've been going to a lot of comfort viewing. Last Friday, I can't imagine why, not this last Friday, but the Friday before, I maybe, was feeling a little bummed out for some unexplained reason. Who could say it might have had to do with the death of a public figure? Who knows? And so maybe I actually, it's one show that I've covered before, but I tend to not try to watch the screeners for is Queer Eye. So I maybe went through a couple of episodes of that show that night that I hadn't seen because I've been saved. It's kind of my break glass in case of emergency show.
It's great to have those shows.
Yes.
Yeah. And also, I mean, I've actually also started rewatching BoJack Horseman, which is just like an all-timer favorite of mine. It's so lovely. So yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of like recent. I'll plug that. If you really enjoyed Sex in the City or just kind of like a light rom-com-ish fare, there's a show. Netflix is launching Emily in Paris next Friday.
Okay.
And it's by the same guy who created Sex in the City. It's just a very light, sweet, young American woman goes to Paris to work for a marketing company and have romantic exploits. So, yeah, there's that's the first thing that comes to mind. But there's so much good TV out there.
We do have a super chat there. Danny Coast, one of the C2A mainstreams.
Hi,
Thank
Danny.
you. Which canceled series do you wish could come back? I'd want Pushing Daisies, Timeless, or Alpha's Hannibal too.
Those are all good. Those are all great picks. And certainly someone has a fondness for Brian Fuller. I mean, Hannibal is just like constantly, don't give up on Hannibal, man. Like they are everyone who was involved with that show is into the idea of bringing it back. Rights wise, I don't even think it's that complicated. I think it's just a matter of like getting the right people to bring them the right money. I feel like Timeless. I feel like anytime a show does get the opportunity to create its actual series finale, like I feel like that's it's like it's great that it had that chance. It's great that it had that chance, and maybe we should just be happy for everyone involved that it happened, because a lot of shows don't even get that. But at the same time, it'd be nice. It's always nice when canceled shows get another opportunity. I've gotten into this habit now of just like never questioning it. Like I've seen too much wild stuff happen in covering TV, like stuff I would never have expected to happen in a million years. And at a certain point, you just have to start going, yeah, sure, whatever. It's going to happen. Yeah. Anything could literally happen at this point.
That's true. And Timeless was one of those weird ones anyway, because it had they got canceled after season 1, and then almost 3 days later it was uncanceled, and it was such a weird dichotomy with that. Then they got the finale that they wanted. That was a lot. I had a lot of luck attached to that show, because a lot of no show gets that lucky two times like that. So definitely, I agree with that. You got to keep it done now at this point. I love that show, but
yeah, I mean, cancel it. It's so hard. I feel like it's one of the things about growing older is just kind of learning to live with some cancellations, or just I mean, I think honestly, if to go really, really far back, a situation I never want to see happen again is when probably one of the first shows I really ever fangirled out over was the Disney animated series Gargoyles. And which was it just blew my mind, that show. I loved that show so intensely, and it got quasi canceled, and then they were like, oh, we'll bring it back for a 13 episode a new season of 13 episodes. In bringing it back, they didn't bother bringing back Greg Weisman, who was the showrunner who had really made the first 2 seasons work,
right.
And those episodes are the episodes in the quote unquote 3rd season are hot garbage, and we don't talk about them. And I would much rather have, at this point in my life, a show get a clean ending that everyone involved can be at least somewhat comfortable with, and all that. That being said, I actually just realized what I really would love to see, though, is I would love for the Marvel Netflix shows. I would love from Luke Cage, Daredevil, Jessica Jones, and even Iron Fist, bless his pointy little head. I would love for all. I would love for, because basically what the thing with that show was, the thing with those series was, they got canceled so unceremoniously. A couple of them ended on massive cliffhangers. And also when they did try to do the Defender series, which I was so hyped for the Defender series.
Right.
And I'm still kind of just I'm not going to try to pretend I'm not disappointed in it. I still try to find value in what they did. I think there are elements of it that aren't the worst thing in the world, but it was a failed effort to bring all the shows together. So I would love for at like 8, just like a movie reuniting all those characters, doing what the Defenders miniseries couldn't do, and also wrapping up all of that. That's a lot to put on 2 hours of media, so it's probably never going to happen. But that's what I would love to see.
Nice. Is there a particular series finale that you felt like really did the best job or a really good job at ending the series?
I love the Parks and Recreation series finale. That's a go-to favorite. Like I think 30 Rock did a lovely job as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think comedies have it easier.
Yeah.
As a rule. I mean, it's a long list, but there are definitely shows that have done it really well. And of course, like usually the unifying factor is they know it's their series finale.
Right.
Yeah. I hate cliffhanger. What's the worst cliffhanger finale you've ever seen that was never resolved?
I'll just say the X-Files. I'll say the X-Files season 10 and then also season 11. Season 10 was nearly a series finale, and then everyone involved was like, including Chris Carter, basically wrote it saying, "I fucking dare Fox not to renew the show because this ending is so bad," and Fox agreed. And he got Gillian Anderson back because Gillian Anderson said, "Well, I don't want that to be the ending because it's stupid. I don't want that to be the last thing that happens to Scully. That's really stupid." And then they went and shot season 11, and then they started promoting season 11, and then Gillian Anderson started saying in interviews while promoting season 11, "This is the last time I will ever be playing Scully." And then we saw the season 11 finale, and we're like, "We get it, Gillian. We get it. Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you." Or the other way around.
Got it, yeah. Oh, that's I get that.
Yeah.
My own personal childhood trauma with that was the show V. I love like the miniseries.
Wait, the 80s miniseries?
The original 80s version.
Oh, nice.
The weekly series was actually crap. I know it was crap, but I still wanted an ending because like they ended with like there was like explosion gonna happen, and then all of a sudden like it was just the end. I'm like, and I never found out what happened. It broke my little child heart at that point, but. But it's amazing how TV can do that. TV has such an effect on us. Like you get into with these characters, and then you don't get to know what happened.
Yeah, well, it's when I was years ago, one of my professors in college pointed out that when you go and see a movie, and you got this in a theater. Remember theaters? There were these big rooms where you would go watch a movie projected on the wall. It was cool. It was a fun thing.
Sounds vaguely familiar.
Vaguely familiar, yeah. But you'd see a person's face in close up on a movie screen, and it would be larger than life. It would be and that's how we made movie stars. They're bigger than us. When you watch a TV show, you're in your home. It's comfortable, and especially in the days before like mega widescreen TVs. Their faces would be relatively close to your own in size in a close-up. You were inviting these people into your homes on a weekly basis. They were part of your lives, especially in the days when remember 22 episodes a season? Like you'd watch for 22 weeks, the characters of ER or the X-Files or Friends would be in your home. And you would spend the summer missing them.
Right.
And so yeah, I can't I know that we're the Schmodown is all about movies, but I'm always telling people if you want to cross train the perfect cross training for the Schmodown is TV. Not only is there huge overlap, but it's also just a really invigorating. It's if you're a professional football player, this should be your ballet. This should be what you do to train different muscles and get really flexible and interested.
I never know. There might be some exhibitions that pop up. I know Christian has always had he can't think of doing a Schmodown TV because it's just so broad.
I would love to destroy I will destroy all comers at a TV Schmodown.
Yeah.
I swear to God, I'm here for it. I mean, quite honestly, like a lot of, not just that SNL movie slice, like there have been a lot of questions that I've answered correctly because of my knowledge of TV, not because of my knowledge of film.
I get that. You brought up SNL slice again. There was a question earlier in the chat I noted. I was actually curious about this too. Ryan Kramer wanted to know, could you offer any insight on the SNL slice? Is it every actor who's been in an SNL cast, or is it like an SNL Productions kind of thing? Like, what's involved in the SNL slice?
You know, they never told us anything. It was just announced as a new slice, and I probably could have asked for clarification at some point. But I just knew that SNL, I figured SNL movies as a basic subcategory, it's not a very long list. It's like,
right.
If you're looking specific, I imagine you could spread it out to include, like, you could get a Punch Drunk Love question in there, for example, probably. But like, as the category expands and grows, but certainly all the questions I got in that round one match with Rachel were all like very movie specific, very much like Lauren Michaels is an executive producer on it. It's like,
that's what I was thinking too. Also, I think it almost has to. I think if it gets out there to just start including SNL cast members, that just makes it a huge slice. You're talking like you have Bill Murray's movies. All of a sudden, you have anything that Chevy Chase was in, anything that Adam Sandler's been in, Chris Farley. That becomes very broad. I don't know if we can study for that as much as you can study for any of the 2010s, the 1980s, and the decades when it's that broad.
Basically, what it comes down to is if you study, if that's what the slice entails, and I have not asked the question. PJ would probably be the person to answer that question properly, but. If you basically at a certain point, if it just becomes movies that Lauren Michaels is not officially an executive producer on, then the answer to the question, it's just you're studying for comedy. Like, you're just studying the comedies category.
That's exactly what it is, yeah.
Yeah, because you're right. You are very correct in that assessment. Like, honestly, like trying to, it would be fun to go back and like pinpoint movies that aren't touched by someone who has any involvement with SNL, even just hosting. I just recently stumbled across like Jeremy Irons hosted an episode of SNL in like 1991.
Right? That's right. I remember that. I remember that now. Actually, thinking about that.
I've been doing working on a Sherlock Holmes project, and he played Sherlock Holmes in a sketch, and his Sherlock is really good. It's a really good Sherlock. Like,
I can buy that.
Yeah, no, it's just like it's. I mean, legitimately, is there anything Jeremy Irons cannot do, or at least get through without making a complete fool of himself? And the answer is very low.
Sure. Liz, before we move on to the next segment of the show, I have to ask you a very important question. Now, we don't have to get into the origins of disco whiskey, but I would like to know, it's unfortunate that we can't do anything now. I know that I read it in your I'm sorry, it starts with an M. What's the name of it? Medium. Thank you so much. I read it in your Medium page. There's a link, LizShannonMiller.com in the description. Click on there. You can find anything that she's worked on. I read it in your Medium page about disco whiskey, and it just like that whole concept just kind of blew my brain. I bartended for a couple of years. So
that explains it, because the concept of disco whiskey was something that came in my maybe about, I think it maybe started about 14, 15 years ago, in the days when you could go to a bar. But like, you basically, like, the idea, like, I think somebody just like had already been drinking, clearly. And one of my friends went up to a bartender and was like, make me a disco whiskey. And the bartender said, what's a disco whiskey? And my friend said, you tell me. And basically this has become like the disco whiskey. And I'm so glad I'm able to spread the gospel of it, because it's such a wonderful thing. Because basically the idea is if you're at a bar, once bars reopen, be safe. Don't rush this. But go to a bar, and then you ask the bartender to make you a disco whiskey, and the bartender it should be quiet. The bar should not be busy. The bartender should be cool. You should have already ordered at least one drink from them and tipped them well. Like, these are my tips for ordering a disco whiskey. So this is your second drink. You ask for a disco whiskey. They say, what's a disco whiskey? You say, you tell me. And it's basically, the idea is, let the bartender create a drink for you, or ask the bartender to create a drink for you based on those two words. And it's, I've, it's a lot of time, it says sometimes bartenders aren't into it, sometimes they are. Usually it's a feeling, it's a thing you have to suss out. Yeah, it's the idea is, it's, I've drunk a lot of whiskey sours asking for the disco whiskey. Usually that's kind of where people go. I had one at a hotel in Colorado while I was there for a friend's wedding, where they tried to incorporate champagne with varying levels of success. It was like the idea of just like the bubbles adding the disco element to it. Danny, I feel like I want to know what your disco whiskey would be.
I was trying to think of a disco whiskey that I could think of. And so in the notes that you had written down in that article, where it doesn't technically have to be whiskey, it's your own interpretation of the drink. And obviously with me, I was like, all right, I got to make it tequila. I don't know what to do with tequila, but I'm also a big fan of, what's it called? Why can't I think of the damn name right now? It's not Clamato, but it's Zing Zang. Sorry. Yeah, so almost like a michelada with tequila. So instead of a beer, using tequila with Zing Zang and rimmed with chili powder. So almost like why can't I think of the damn vodka drink? Why am all of my bartending skills are completely out of my brain right now?
Atrophied.
I'm sorry?
You're atrophied. It's been so long.
I know, it really has been. It's been so long. What's the hangover drink that you drink whenever you have a hangover?
Oh, a Bloody Mary.
A Bloody Mary, thank you. Basically, it's almost like a Bloody Maria. It's almost like a Bloody Maria, but I got to figure out a way to adjust it. I didn't have all of the time to develop it.
Yeah, I mean, I would 100% try that. I don't even really love like super spicy things, but yeah. No, I think tequila in a disco whiskey makes actually a fair amount of sense. Like, I think tequila has that vibe.
I feel like tequila is like, disco whiskey is tequila. It's your fun tequila, because for me, whiskey makes me mean, but tequila makes me fun. So yeah. That was the concept that came into my brain. So if anyone at home, since we can't go to bars right now, but guess what? You can make your drinks at home. If you make yourself a disco whiskey at home, make sure that you at Liz Shannon Miller on Twitter. Show her your disco whiskeys.
Well,
I collect these. Oh yeah, Ryan Kramer here. This sounds like fun.
That does sound like fun. Holy moly.
Yeah.
Vanilla whiskey sour. Yeah, we could try.
We're gonna have to think of some disco whiskeys.
Danny, you should re-up your show, your old show that you never only did like one episode of, where you made. She had a show idea. She only did like one episode or two episodes where she took a Schmoedown competitor. Did you actually? Yeah.
No, I kind of previewed it for the Andrew Guy thing. That's right.
That's what it was. Yeah. She took a Schmoedown competitor and then made a drink, like made up a new drink fashioned on that competitor.
Oh, that's fun.
So, Danny, I think you're gonna have to try that out.
I agree. I would be very honored to have a drink inspired by me.
And I feel like it would have to be called the disco whiskey. It has to incorporate lightning in there somehow.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing with the term disco is that you put that in there, you want carbonation, like of some kind, which has a lightning quality. It sparks the tongue.
Mm-hmm. I like it.
I like it too. Well, I guess it's time. We are going to move on to the second part of our show. If you've watched this show before, you know what this or that is. If this is your first time, well, welcome, first of all. This or that is where I will be giving Liz Shannon Miller two options, option A or option B, and you'll get to choose one of them. They could be anything. They could be clarified by me if she wants. Usually, I say clarified any way you want because it's your answer. So we have some that we do every week, and some that we will pick out that are probably tailored more towards you. So without further ado, and questions, by the way, also chat. You know that you can always throw some in there, and if I see a good one or if I see anyone, I'll probably just throw up on screen and let you ask as well. So please get those chats in, and we will move on. And let's just get going then, I guess. The first question we always ask, I'm interested to see, I haven't had you talk about this yet.
To see this answer.
This is what we don't. Sometimes we know and sometimes we don't.
Yeah.
If you don't know, we are a team action podcast. That's how we started back when Ben Bateman and Andrew Guy were together. That's how we were formed, of course, and they had their civil war. And we all sided on different sides. Danny and I are on one team. Kelsey's on the wrong side, and it's okay. And so you want to know, Liz Shannon Miller, if you know, would you be on Team Guy, Team Andrew Guy, or Team Trader, Ben Bateman?
Well, I think I've played Ben Bateman.
You did.
Yeah, that's my middle-aged brain kicking in. So I played Ben, and I have nothing against Andrew Guy. And on the one hand, Ben beat me, and he was kind of a jerk about it. But he also has said nice things about me recently. But I feel bad for Andrew Guy right now, so I'm gonna go Guy.
That is the right answer.
I couldn't have possibly been able to tell that answer from.
We are very unbiased. We are very unbiased. All right. Well, good. We can move on now with that correct answer. Let's move on to some other ones. We'll go right into it for you, Mulder or Scully.
Okay.
I love when answers. Let me interrupt. I love when answers start. Okay, because we knew something good is coming out. So go ahead.
No, there are a lot of complicated questions here. You have stumbled across a field of inquiry that has occupied my brain for more decades than I care to admit. And I could ask you to clarify. I got to go Scully.
Scully?
It's like picking my favorite children, but yeah.
You go with Scully. Okay, all right, that's perfectly fine. All right. How about Captain Kirk or Captain Picard?
Ooh, it's a harder. I've never really actually asked myself this question before, and I've spent a lot of time again thinking about Star Trek. I'm gonna go with Picard.
All right, I get that. I
just saw someone. I think William Harrell just said Captain Sisko in the comments, and yeah, correct.
You go Sisko over there, okay, that's fine.
Yes.
Or Janeway.
I love Janeway, but Sisko, DS9 is the best Star Trek, and you can fight me in the parking lot afterwards.
That's actually the series I missed when I was younger. I just finished watching The Next Generation, so I'm moving on to Deep Space Nine now. So. You're gonna watch the birth of serialized television happen before your eyes. You're gonna love it. It's gonna be amazing for you. I'm so excited for you. I'm very happy too. It's been a long time. I've been wanting to watch it forever, but it's never found the right time. So
I haven't seen anything from Star Trek, and I always threaten Paul that my first Star Trek venture is going to be with Star Trek the Animated Series. That's how I'm going to start.
That's not a good start.
That's a cute show. They did some fun stuff.
I'm a big fan of animated.
I'm just saying it's not a good start. I don't think you want to start with the animated series. I think you got to watch the regular series first, then get into the animated series.
I did look up how to watch Star Trek, and the animated series is actually second after the movie, I think. Whatever order it was, I think it was second. I really can't remember now, but I know that it's up high.
Danny, I want to personally guide you through this.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
I was always a Star Wars guy, not Star Trek. I mean, I like Star Trek a lot, but I'm definitely not as well versed in Star Trek as I am in Star Wars. So please help her out more than that.
I'm just okay. Here's what I'm gonna say: is when I was a very young lass, my mother was a huge Star Trek fan. She got me into it. But I think, honestly, the first Star Trek I really loved independently of anyone was Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home.
I love that one. I love that one so much.
I think watch that one. It is funny. It's got whales in it.
I like whales.
Yeah, of course you do. No, watch that one. That's a great gateway Star Trek.
It is. That's a good point.
I mean, actually, okay. Now I'm revising my opinion because you're not an 8-year-old girl.
But to be fair, yes, I am.
Yes.
Here's what I'm gonna say. You know, Star Trek 2, Star Trek 3, Star Trek 4. Do those.
Okay.
2, 3, 4.
2, 3, 4.
Okay.
Do those.
That's cool.
Yeah, because I feel like Star Trek 2 is a little heavier, but you need to watch. You do if you're not an 8-year-old girl and you actually know can comprehend plot beyond. Oh, cool! There are whales. You're gonna want to watch 2 and 3 before you get to 4.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of necessary.
No, 3 is the weaker one, but then you'll get to 4 and there are whales. I am not giving you in-depth critical analysis because I want you to be unspoiled. Just know, whales are coming.
Nice. I love this.
Lots of kids start with the animated series and found their way to the original series. That could be true.
Well, the reason why I wanted to get into Star Trek was because of the Lower Decks. Is that the new animated show?
That's coming. Yeah.
Oh, it's so fun. But
yeah.
The thing with Lower Decks though is that it's entertaining on its own level, but it does actually like really, really reward your hardcore nerd fans. Like I will tease this. I've gotten to see a screener for this next upcoming episode, which is basically at least 30 to 40% just a flat out parody of J.J. Abrams movies. I'm just saying there's some lens flare.
Probably just one. Because if he ever puts in his movies, he makes sure that we just see the one.
Anyways, so sorry for this long Star Trek digression.
No.
Yeah, you can get me talking about Star Trek for a very long period of time.
I'm happy to do it. This is actually what we do. Even this or that, I can always pause it and we can always come back. I like it. I agree talking about it forever. So I'm fine with that. I'll actually even add on to it. How do you feel about the J.J. Abrams Star Trek verse versus like the older verse?
Well, I think the original 6. Oh, well, I mean, that is because it's a more complicated question.
It is.
You got the original Series 6,
right?
You got the Next Generation films, and then you've got J.J. Abrams. I think, legitimately, the Star Trek 2009 is a perfect film. There are nitpicks and so forth, but I think it was really incredible how that movie managed to do everything it did. I mean, I think most especially the fact that I was very nervous about that film because I am such a huge fan of, Next Generation and DS9 and everything that comes afterwards.
Right.
And it found the whole, alternate universe thing found a way to basically preserve what I loved, but also give me something new to love. Like that was the thing. Like I really love and respect that fact.
Yeah, it rebooted it. It found a way to reboot it without destroying everything, and that's so perfect.
No, and it was
actually happening.
Yeah, and basically, the problem with the real issue with Star Trek Into Darkness is that beyond the fact that they really shanghaied themselves with trying to preserve the secret that was not a secret, except it was a secret, except it wasn't a very good secret.
Right.
And beyond that fact, the basic problem with that movie is that it's trying to be a Star Wars movie. You can basically see J.J. Abrams auditioning to make a Star Wars movie in that movie, and it's bad.
What?
I'm not saying like J.J. Abrams. I'm not gonna I am not opening the can of worms that is the J.J. Abrams Star Wars universe movie. I'm saying that it's bad to make a Star Trek movie that wants to be a Star Wars movie.
Although I could see there's an argument, to be honest with you, I would say there's an argument to me that even Star Trek 09 had a much more Star Warsian flair than the Star Trek movies had in the past. And much more adventure. And you can even see there's like a little cribs of like New Hope type. I mean, you have like the farm boy meets a mentor, goes into outer space, there's a planet's being destroyed. It's like it's a lot of sci-fi tropes as well, but it was kind of definitely a nod. It's a big Star Wars. Like, I've seen a little bit of this before, but it worked for me anyway, so I just loved it. So
no, of course, I definitely hear you. No, I definitely see that. I think it's subtle in Star Trek 2009. It's embarrassingly
I'll agree with that.
Into Darkness. Like,
I'll agree with that. I'll go with that. Yeah,
it's like it's. I mean, it's like a lot of sequels where it's like the best and worst qualities of the original film get amplified.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I will throw this. I always have to throw this. Kelsey has to. My dad wrote a Star Trek novel, but I've only seen 45 minutes of Star Trek the movie, so she's a failure to her father. That's okay.
Oh. I mean, when your parents are involved with stuff, it's weird. It's their thing. It's hard.
Absolutely. Okay. All right. Well, you know what? I actually had one other Star Trek question. It is old versus new, Next Generation. Spock or Data?
I feel like my dad is starting.
I love these think questions. When Paul makes someone think, those are always my favorite ones.
It's like, because they are serving essentially the same function within the cast and the ensemble. I'm going to go Data, if only because he is a cat owner and he really commits. And I had a bad day a couple of days ago, and a coworker was like, "What can I do for you? What can I help you with?" And I was just like, "Just give me the Spock treatment. Tell me I'm a good cat and a pretty cat."
That's true. That's awesome. Okay,
I mean, I think they're both fascinating characters. And I know my mom would choose Spock in a heartbeat, but she also went to her prom with a guy who looked a lot like Leonard Nimoy, and I don't think that was an accident. So,
all right, fair enough. Okay, Tank Girl or Jet Girl?
The thing is, so a lot of my my Tank Girl fandom comes down to the fact that my best friend in high school and I loved the film together.
Okay.
And she was always the Tank Girl, and I was always the Jet Girl. So I'm going to go Jet Girl.
Nice.
All right. See, that's right.
I love being friends with Tank Girl. I love having Tank Girl in my life as a friend. But I am probably more in my daily activities. I am much more of a Jet Girl.
Okay, fair enough. Poutine or loaded French fries?
I don't even know what loaded French fries are, but poutine's amazing. Poutine.
Okay, poutine. There you go. All right. Now we all know you're on swag. Obviously, you want swag to win the faction battle.
Yep.
But there's 3 teams that are in kind of contention at this point.
Oh.
So if swag couldn't win and swag is out of the running, would you rather see the Finstock Exchange or corruption win at the end of the year?
Oh God, I feel like this question is going to get me in trouble. Remind me. Okay, so give me. I think everyone involved with both teams are lovely. That's my on-brand statement of happiness and cheeriness and positive energy. I'll say Finstock.
Finstock. Okay. All right.
I don't know where I would land on that. I feel like I'd flip a coin and be dissatisfied with either one. So
yeah, I know who I want to win, and that's swag. So we'll see what happens.
All right, well, that's fair. That's why I couldn't put swag in there because that's the obvious choice, right? So
of course.
You mentioned the Netflix series. You did love the Marvel Netflix series. So Daredevil or Jessica Jones?
Jessica Jones.
Jessica Jones. Okay. All right.
Yeah. No question.
No hesitation. All right.
You have to understand. So I've the Bendis comics. That's that quartet of graphic novels is like, one of my all-time favorite graphic novel series, and comic series. I'm not trying to elevate. I'm not trying to pretend like I'm fancy or anything. And yeah, so that's an all-time favorite. And gosh, sorry. Yeah. Basically, so I was extremely excited for the show already. I'd already been really excited for casting Kristen Ritter. I thought that was perfect casting. And then I remember very distinctly the day that the announcement came out that David Tennant would be playing Kilgrave, and I literally had to push away from the computer and go like take a walk around the block. And I was like, I cannot be around people right now. I'm just freaking out. It's so good. Like I haven't really given a serious amount of thought to like critically, which is the best of all the series. But I feel like at least Jessica Jones season 1 is probably the ultimate like expression of what they were trying to do with the Marvel Netflix thing, and it was beautiful.
Not good. That's good. I love the series. I agree. I do. Okay, how about Mandalorian season 2?
Okay.
Obi-Wan series or a Cassian Andor series? We'll do all 3.
Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan's your one. Okay. No doubt.
Yeah, I mean, look, Ewan McGregor had spent several years basically fucking carrying the prequels. Like, if the only reason the prequels are as watchable as they are is Obi-Wan, as far as I'm concerned, and it's all because of Ewan McGregor. He was perfect casting. He really committed. He's the only one in those movies really able to like manage what's happening. And I'm so excited for him to get a new show and work with new people and get to play this character.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that forever. I was very excited to hear that. So
maybe they'll eventually actually, make it.
Yeah. I guess he said something that they were going to start filming soon. I thought he said that recently, but maybe I'm wrong. But
I'm just getting kind of cranky about like Disney Plus keeps announcing that they're doing these spin-off shows, and like, you guys need to actually start releasing some of them, right?
Yeah, that's true.
You can't tell us there's a new Nick Fury series coming. You can't even get Falcon and the Winter Soldier out through the weeks. And admittedly, there are some extenuating circumstances. It's completely understandable why you're not able to do this right now. But maybe don't pretend like you can make it happen if you can't. Like, that's all I'm saying.
I get the absolutely. Okay. Classic Doctor Who or New Who?
New Who.
New Who.
I wish I could be more loyal, favorable to the classic, but no. I mean, I'm a huge Doctor Who fan, but I'm a New Who fan, and I literally wear that on my back.
It's absolutely a fair way to do it. I mean, I definitely watch the New Who more. I grew up with the old Who a little bit, but I definitely fell in love during New Who. Do you have a favorite Doctor? The Lieutenant?
Technically, I have to. I do. My instinct is always to say David Tennant, but it's really Christopher Eccleston who made me fall in love with it. Like,
okay.
It's like I remember so distinctly watching like the Sci-Fi Channel broadcast of the first episode of Doctor Who, and that moment at the end of the first episode where he says, "Did I mention it also travels in time?" And I'm like, "Oh shit, I'm in the show now!" And it was like Rose running into the TARDIS in that scene was me running into the show, and David Tennant is incredible. I love him so much as an actor. There was definitely a period of time where I was legit obsessed, and I've seen so much of his work as a result. But in the long run, I do feel. I think basically what it comes down to is science wise, like your doctor is usually your first doctor. Like,
makes sense, I guess.
Yeah, the first doctor you see is the doctor you kind of imprint on, and so I think David Tennant is incredible and one of our greatest living actors, and also Chris Robinson is my doctor.
Nice.
I think luckily, actually, we've been blessed with a great set of doctors. All of them have great.
Yeah.
Like Chris, I mean, Matt Smith's great. Peter Capaldi is phenomenal. Even Jodie Whittaker has been great. I wish I'm not exactly haven't been a fan of the newest like seasons. They kind of ever since Chibnall took over, I'm kind of like, I wish.
Let me throw out this idea for you.
Go ahead.
Maybe if you're going to introduce the first female doctor in Doctor Who history, maybe don't also introduce 3 new companions, 2 of which are male, and have them dominate most of the stories.
Yeah.
Just brainstorm.
100% agree. I 100% agree. I think Jodie Whittaker is a fabulous actor. I think she's actually very good in the role when they give her a shot to do stuff. I'm just
when they let her actually play the doctor, she's very good at doing it.
It just feels like a different show. This whole thing. It's like, I know they had the break before. When Matt Smith came in, it was a totally new break, new companions, new everything else. But it still kind of felt connected to the past.
Well, it was connected because Stephen Moffat had written Doctor Who
with Russell Davies, right?
Yeah, and so Russell Davies wasn't running the show anymore, but Stephen Moffat was at least involved, and so that transition was easier. And Chibnall had written Doctor Who as well, but the problem is Chibnall isn't a stronger writer, and also again, Jodie Whittaker doesn't feel like the star of that show. It feels like an ensemble piece because there are 3 companions.
Yeah, too much.
In the history of Doctor Who, going to the classic era, there have not been a lot of instances of 3 companions. And you know why? It's because it doesn't work.
No. I
have strong feelings about this topic.
I love it.
I get it. No, I completely 110% agree with you. I think it's best when it's 1 companion, and sometimes I like it when they have like the occasional second companion, like Jack Harkness kind of comes in every once in a while or something like that. That works. But you're right. And Rory and Amy worked as a twosome, but that had a different because I think because they were together.
Well, they had their own dynamic. I think like if the only core relationship is the companion with the doctor, then it's like weird and disjointed. And that's another problem. It's like basically it's all of the companions are just kind of like, yeah, we all hang out together, whatever.
Right.
Yeah, I all those actors seem like fine people. I don't dislike any of the characters. I do like the fact that there are characters of color. I do like the fact that those characters of color have storylines related to those issues.
Mm-hmm.
I love all of that. I just feel like they forgot the fact that the show is called Doctor Who.
Right. Hopefully that's going to change. I did think the second season kind of moved a little bit better in connecting it to the past, but it still felt off to me. So we'll have to say.
I want to call out someone named Noam
Sayan.
Noam Sayan?
Who is saying that my first doctor was Rowan Atkinson.
I was about to bring that up, actually.
This is a call out to, please correct me if I'm wrong, the BBC Children in Need special episode where everyone got to play the doctor, including Hugh Grant, which by the way, not bad.
Not bad at all.
90s era Hugh Grant playing the doctor, not bad.
I just started watching Doctor Who very recently, so I'm on.
You didn't even tell me that.
I did tell you that.
We didn't tell me that. We did not talk about it.
Well, I want to hear she
tell me about
where is she at?
I'm the episode where the government people are like bugs. And Rose's mom.
Oh, I love that episode with the farting aliens.
The farting aliens, right?
That's like a real. That episode is a real canary in the coal mine, where it's like if you're like, I'm charmed by the fact that the aliens fart. You're into it.
I love that episode. That's the last episode that I've watched, but I couldn't. That episode
it's 2-parter. Have you finished the second part?
I don't think so. Then nope. I don't think.
Oh no. Okay, so there's part 2. And part two has my favorite Christopher Eccleston moment because it's this incredibly goofy show and it's this incredibly goofy moment, and then he has this like amazing like moment with Rose, and it's just like it's heartbreaking. It's beautiful, and it's like it's in the middle of the show about farting aliens, and that's when you're like, oh man, Doctor Who, you are doing something next level here.
That's Doctor Who in a nutshell, pretty much. Because there's a lot of bizarre shit that always goes on, but yet it always has that heart deep down there. There's always that connection. So.
It's why Russell T Davies is one of our greatest writers. Like if anyone watching this, if you haven't watched Years and Years on HBO, it's going to screw you up. It's going to make you think about things in a really weird way, but it's an amazing miniseries, and you have to watch it. You have to. Let me continue to sell it. No, it's a miniseries. It's basically about this ordinary English family and it starts in the year 2019. That's when which is when it was made, and it goes to the year 2029 or so.
Oh, okay.
So it's Russell T Davies giving us like the not too distant future from the perspective of an ordinary English family, and it is, again, it'll fuck you up.
All right.
In the best ways. It'll make you think about the world in a way you really should be thinking about the world. Nice. And he's such a beautiful, humane writer. Like, I love him so much.
And what was it called again? I'm sorry?
Years and Years.
Years and Years. Okay. I'll check that out, definitely.
Emma Thompson plays a notable political figure. She's their big star casting, but the whole cast is amazing. Oh. You'll recognize a bunch of them if you watch a lot of British TV.
There you go. Okay. Gnome Sign also has one more for it. It says Venture Brothers or Rick and Morty.
Well, I confess that I've only ever really watched Rick and Morty, so I have to go Rick and Morty. But I respect the Venture Brothers a lot, and I really hope they get to make a proper finale. Speaking of shows improperly canceled.
That's true.
All right. Yeah.
All right. Sounds good. Well, I think that's where we will end this or that. You have survived. You have made your way to the other side. And now a chat, you know what time it is for that. It starts to get your questions into the chat, more specifically now, and streamlabs.com/call-to-action-pod. If you want to get them definitively read, we always take priority on that. My cat is now attacking me. Yes, hello, Indiana Jones. It always happens at least once.
It is a cat. What's happened?
He just decides you're not paying attention to me, so I'm going to claw your side, Indiana Jones. All right. But anyway, besides that, of course, we're going to bring on the lovely Miss Kelsey.
Hi, Kelsey.
Hi.
Now you can talk about Harley Quinn for a second if you really want to. I know you're bursting.
I'm so excited for the third season of the show, by the way.
I am too. I love the show so much. I was pretty confident they were gonna have a third season. It's so perfect. And then they had that great little like joke with the Q&A that happened at Fandom and stuff. So I'm like, I was pretty sure it was coming, but the validation, knowing it's coming, made me feel good.
I'm legitimately shocked that they didn't announce it at Fandom.
I was too. I was waiting for it. I thought that's what the Q&A was going to end with. Like, here's the thing. And then, by the way. But
I mean, it's just like, at this point, and this goes back to the Venture Brothers thing, like, why cancel animation right now? Like, it's the one thing we can produce safely.
Yeah. Absolutely. Like, voiceover, stuff like that. I know people are doing that from home. They're able to do the recordings and things, send them in. It's like, that's what we kind of, I feel like we should be focusing on. That would make sense to me.
All right. Well, while Danny has to step off just for a second, and while we are waiting for the chat questions, we should plug our shows for this week and next. As far as I can't plug a Schmobates yet. I know Alex is working on one. I think it's officially locked in. She's got a couple of T's to I always said T's to dot. That's how I'm feeling right now. T's to cross, I's to dot. So we can't announce that, but we were trying to do that. Of course, we do have reactions this week. It is time. I gotta say, I love the Schmodown, and I loved how many matches we were getting. But for us reactors and breakdowners and whatever, if the 4 matches a week was definitely getting a little tough. So it's kind of nice.
Getting tough.
It is kind of nice to have a 2 match this week to kind of like, so we can deep dive into that and not have to worry about every day doing one. So Kristen, we love it. So, but we do have the 2 matches, so we'll definitely be breaking those down this week, I believe. Probably we try to do it. I'll throw it out there. We try to do it 4:00 Pacific generally, but if we have a guest, we might just alter that around. Or here comes Indiana. He's going to walk through it after. This is his time. There he is. Yes. Okay. Yes, indeed.
So, Is this the first time that they've done like, oh my God, look at that big old chunky boy?
Yes, huh?
Oh, he's so good at chunky.
He's a chunker. Yes, hi.
Oh, it's so fluffy.
He's so fluffy. And he's clawing me. He's clawing me still. All right, there we go, buddy. That's what happens every time. He has to get on screen.
So what was I going to ask? Is this the first time that the Schmodown has done 4 matches a week for attorney?
I think for at least like this many weeks in a row.
This many weeks in a row.
Yeah.
Mhm.
For a little bit, it was kind of more. I mean, they had more, but I think somebody went down to like 3 matches a week at one point. But it was like I can't remember a time when it had been like every day. Right. And it wasn't like I'm sick because I could watch a match every day. I love them. If we had a match every day, I would love watching definitely.
So
the reacting part of it.
it's the putting on a show about it and everything else. Kind of like okay, now it's just like to take a little bit of a breather this way. Doing 2 matches a week is good. So
it's been a little while since I've done. It's been a little while since I've paid attention to this. I really had a lead up to this question. The Patreon thing. Do you guys like cover this for the Patreon subscribers, or do you wait for the global release?
We'll wait for the global release because we don't want to spoil it. Generally speaking, at that point, for the live events we will do those usually right away because we are trying to treat it more like a sport, like Christian says. You can't a Super Bowl, you cover it the next day. But as far as the Patreon matches, we wait until it's released on Thursday. It's like Thursday night we would do it for this week. Yep. I'm assuming it's going out to the patrons tomorrow. Is what I'm assuming. Is what it usually was. Usually Mondays.
It's like the top tier Patreons get it on Tuesday, and then second tier get it on Wednesday, and then the full on thing happens on the 1st.
That could be. I know something that used to be Monday, but maybe it's Tuesday, Wednesday.
I have no idea.
I have to check it out. So
I'm fairly confident on the schedule, only because my mom's birthday is on Wednesday and all that.
Okay, well then you've heard it here first. Other shows we got plugged this week beyond the reactions. Next week we'll have Call to Action live back in full force on Saturday, I believe.
Yep, that's the plan.
And I'll be breaking down those matches. I think we're finally going to talk about the teams tournament now because
we are going to.
For like 2 weeks in a row, we were going to predict the bracket, and then we were going to talk about the bracket, and we always seem to run out of time, and we never got around to it. So this is definitive topic this week will be the teams tournament. And finally, we have one more show to plug before we get to those questions. Next week's Chill to Action is going to be a fun one for sure. I'll let Kelsey's ad do the trick because she always makes these great ads. I love her for it. So without further ado, next week's Chill to Action. That's right. Sam Levine, and returning on Chill to Action for the first time in a year, it will be Rachel Cushing. And I want to say real quick, first of all, it's going to be a fun episode. Second of all, I gotta say this how cute it was. I did reach out to Rachel to get to Sam because I don't have any connections with Sam. I was trying to say, what would you think? Could you have Sam come on? And then Rachel came back to me. And she wrote this note. And she's like, "If you're not opposed to it, would you mind if I came on? If you came on together?" And I was like, "Would we mind?"
No.
That's an honor. We're happy to have you.
The funny thing about that also is Paul sent me almost that same message to me. He was like, "Hey, so good news, bad news. Sam can come on, but like, is it okay if Rachel comes on with him?" Oh, what?
That's what I was saying. I did totally sarcastically waiting to see it. And she's like, "What's the bad news? What's the bad news?" Well, we're gonna have to prepare for 2 guests instead of 1. She's like, and she hates me. That's right. That's all.
Given what I've learned about the level of research you guys do into your guests, I do understand. Like that's more of a commitment.
I have listened to your voice all day long. I'm not mad at it. I am not mad at it. But it is fun to kind of get to know people like that on a different level. I really have been reading through a lot of your articles, and I felt really good. It's so nice to kind of go through them. One article that kind of stood out to me was I think it was your most recent one in Medium, and it was about Star Wars and seeing yourself represented in Star Wars. Yeah. and the way that you wrote it in second person, and Liz, like literally almost every single thing that you wrote down was my exact feelings and thoughts on that, and it was so perfect. So I've enjoyed this all day long. So thank you so much again.
I'm so pleased by that. Like that article, that I literally wrote that in such a rush of like in one morning. I think after watching like the second episode of The Mandalorian, and I ate so much shit from so many Star Wars fans, but shocking. It was like a lot of like Star Wars fans being like, "Oh, hey, doesn't she know about Ahsoka Tano?" And I'm like, I literally write in the article, I am tired of people bringing up Ahsoka Tano when it comes to Star Wars. Like I know she exists. She's not in the goddamn feature films, and that's what I'm talking about here. And I'll go fuck yourself. Anyways, but that really means a lot to me because I ate a lot of shit from Star Wars fans, but I also had a lot of lovely people talk to me about how they also felt really, really hurt by it. So that article means a lot to me, and I'm really happy that it happened.
We didn't get to talk about it either, but the Team Action has a small history with Giancarlo Esposito as well. So the tiny article about his dogs, I thought that was the sweetest thing to read. Oh my goodness.
Oh God, no, it was the best conversation. I forget if I put this in the piece, but the other reason she's referring to an article I wrote where I basically took the excerpt, I had done this like very long interview with Giancarlo Esposito for, I think it was a Better Call Saul FYC Emmy thing. And he was dealing with his dogs, whose dogs were being unruly that day. So he kept stopping to say, like, yell at his dogs. And so at a certain point, in the interview, the site I was working for at the time would only pay for the transcription if it went over 30 minutes. So I was at minute 28, and I was like, just tell me about your dogs. And I was like, I know I'm going to get an extra 2 minutes out of this man. And he proceeded to tell me all about his dogs. So that was a bit, but I didn't use the dog stuff for the articles, but I did I did compile it together for a Medium post, which I really loved. Thank you for reading that and for getting you to talk about it.
Yes, of course. I wanted to talk about it.
It always is a great, if you need more time with things, you ask them about their pets, because cats and dogs and things people want to talk about them. They love them.
They do.
Yeah.
All right, Kelsey, do we have any questions?
Yep. First question we have is from Dean Morgan, asking favorite comic movie besides Tank Girl.
Oh, okay.
I think I have to go. I'm gonna, whatever politics around it aside. I literally flew to Boston the first weekend of May 2012 to watch the Avengers in the theater at least 2 or 3 times with one of my best friends, and it was an amazing weekend. And that film still is like, it is so good at doing what it needs to do. So there's so many other comic book movies I love. Honestly, I'd maybe argue to put Unbreakable as at least my number 2, if not like an actual number 1 contender, but on my personal list. But because Unbreakable is an amazing film as well. But yeah, I have to go with Avengers. I flew across the country to see it with my friend.
I think the Avengers is underrated. I actually love the original Avengers movie. You're exactly right. It does exactly what it's supposed to do. And it just, that feeling when they finally come together, just like, this is what I'm waiting for. The circle shot.
The circle shot. And I love the way that Endgame plays with it. Like, yes. I think that film did what it needed to do in a lot of respects. So
100%. So,
All right, perfect. And I did want to throw in a personal question I forgot that I wanted to make sure got asked. As Danielle was mentioning before we started, there was something you did called Wrong Liz Miller, was the email. And I want to hear more about this.
Oh,
Tell me what that is.
Okay. Well, congratulations, everyone. You're about to learn what my email address is. It's liz.miller@gmail.com. You can email me at liz.miller@gmail.com. It's not a secret. It's out there. But the thing about I signed up for Gmail in 2004-ish. And so when it was really new and early, and it's been a blessing because I have liz.miller@gmail.com. That's lovely. And then the downside is that there are a lot of dumbass Liz Millers out there who don't know how to put email addresses into forms properly. So I get a lot of their emails. So I guess the question is, like, do I have a favorite or?
Yeah, just a general sort. But yeah, if you have a favorite, that'd be great.
I can't literally the volume of this. I'm gonna actually go to.
It's a Tumblr, right? It's a Tumblr.
I have a Tumblr account that I've used casually to for really interesting ones, because you get some really interesting ones.
I saw the one with the guy saying, "I just need to get this off of my chest," and it was this long rant about he and his relationship with this other Liz Miller out there, and
yeah. There was the guy who I'm having like done some deep diving into it. I'm fairly certain had been caught looking at pornography by his very Christian wife. So he had sent an email to her parents explaining that he was very sorry and he was doing a lot of Bible study and he was apologizing. So I'm looking. I have a folder I save these all in. I have nearly 2,000 messages in this folder.
What?
Wow.
It's like, no, this is again over like since 2004. Like again, but it's like, no, I don't know why I saved them even. It's just like, it's just interesting to me because it's a lot like I really enjoy, like, there are a lot of times where new parents, they just had a baby, they're very tired. They put their email at they send their emails into the wrong person. I always respond just saying like, hey, wrong Liz Miller, check your address and try again. But yeah, I think I'm just gonna say I really enjoy it when I get like just a cute baby photo. Or puppies. I got actually like there's this one I think there was like this one person who really couldn't figure out the email address for the Liz Miller they were looking for. Because, of course, there are a lot of Liz Millers who use something close to Liz Miller in their Gmail address. And so there's this one day where, like, this one person just could not figure out who they wanted to send these puppy photos to. But I was like, keep them coming. Like, they were all very cute. They were very cute puppies.
What a wholesome accident.
I know.
That was a lot better than like the porn guy.
Poor guy. What's next, House?
All right. Next question we have is, what is a favorite TV pilot episode that's not talked about?
Oh, that's a good question. Not to bring it back to the X-Files, but I feel like the X-Files pilot doesn't get enough credit for being a really good introduction to the show. I think most importantly, it doesn't just introduce you to what the show is going to try to do in terms of its mythology, in terms of its mysteries, in terms of its format, but it really does a good job of selling the characters and selling the chemistry between Gillian Anderson and David Duchovny. It's right there. And on balance, if you think back on the legacy of the show, that's what the show is. It's their chemistry, and God bless them for trying to move forward without either or both of them.
All right, Kels, next.
Next question is a favorite artist or band.
Oh, so music times.
Yeah.
God, I wish I was. I'm so my thing with music is I only really my connection with music is primarily in connection with film. Like in TV, like that's primarily the way I've gotten introduced to new artists as a rule. I don't know if she's my absolute favorite. But there's an artist named Bree Sharp, who I discovered through the X-Files because she wrote a song called David Duchovny. The chorus of which is David Duchovny, why won't you love me? Why won't you love me? Why won't you love me?
Love it.
It's a simple question, David.
But it's a very simple
Answer the question.
It's like if you listen to her or the albums, her first album has it's just like it's some really amazing lyrical stuff. And yeah, she was an early favorite of mine. And otherwise, I mean, honestly, probably if when I really need to get work done, I'm a Daft Punk girl.
Yes.
I mean, it's just
Yeah. That Tron Legacy.
that Tron Legacy soundtrack.
Oh,
But like,
good.
they're just across the board. Like that, there's no Daft Punk song I don't like. So
Very cool.
yeah, that's not. I don't feel like that's a classy choice. The Beatles are good. I hear good things about the Beatles.
Wait, who?
They've done some things.
They've
I
done some
guess.
stuff.
I'll look into them. All right. All right, Kels. Next.
Next question. Is there a show that somebody strongly recommended to you that you just hated?
You know what? First, the important part of that question is the show I just hated. It's usually not a thing I do is hate shows. It's a really interesting question. I will say that every time someone tries to make me get into Ozark, I'm just like, I don't know why. I'm not a huge Ozark fan, and I'm not a huge Mindhunter fan, and I have a lot of people in my life who tell me that I should fix that. And I think it's, I don't know what it is, and I should give them more of a chance. I should actually genuinely try to watch them, but they've just not clicked for me. So
Fair. Subjective.
Yeah.
All right. Another music question from Danny is a favorite concert venue show. So, concert.
Okay. Well, if I have to pick a favorite concert venue,
I'll go with that. Yeah.
I mean, the Hollywood Bowl is really lovely, but getting in and out of it is kind of a mess. The Shoreline Amphitheater in Northern California was basically a couple miles from where I grew up, and that's where we went to see most shows. And I'm very fond of it. Like, it's a beautiful outdoor amphitheater. They always do an amazing 4th of July concert. I went to Lilith Fair there. That was a big thing. So yeah, that was. I'm a Shoreline girl.
Very cool. All right. Next question from Brian. Favorite SNL cast member?
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
A lot of
I mean,
cats.
especially
a lot.
I mean, this is recency bias 100%, but I feel like Kate McKinnon really kills it. I think she does characters so well, and she also does her own thing so well. Like she's probably the most versatile of the current cast, and I'm excited to see what she does. Like, I'm excited to see what Kate McKinnon is doing in 10 years. Like, because I think she probably won't be on SNL at that point. But, my hope is that she finds kind of a level for her talent where she's able to like kind of maybe be on it, able to be like Adam Sandler, where she just gets to do whatever the hell she wants and get paid a lot of money for it, and then. But unlike Adam Sandler, hopefully most of it will be extremely good.
Yeah.
and not just like Adam Sandler does semi-good stuff a lot of the time.
Yeah, it's true.
I would say for SNL, you almost have to divide it up into eras. Like,
It's really tough. Like, right. Mike Myers has. I have a weird fondness for Mike Myers. I think Gilda Radner is an all-timer #1 pick. She was just a talent beyond compare.
I loved her with John Belushi.
John Belushi was also extraordinary.
Mike Myers and I have the same birthday, so that's why he's my favorite.
Nice.
All right. And then we have a question from Mike Deacon being on brand for himself. Best Mortal Kombat character. Mike likes Mortal Kombat.
He'll never not talk about Mortal Kombat.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, with those '90s fighting games, I always gravitated towards the female character. Like this would be an easy question with Street Fighter because it'd be Chun-Li. I keep ass on Chun-Li. Any comers come at me, and if I'm allowed to play Chun-Li, I will take you down. But I never really liked Sonya Blade is the thing. So yeah, I like a Scorpion. I think is kind of badass. Like I like the idea of like you just be like, "Woof, come here,
get over here,
get over here." That's it.
No, the same thing for me. I always gravitated more towards female characters, and Sindel was actually a character that I really gravitated because of her hair. I've always had long hair in my life, so that little hair thing that she would do, that was always
nice.
Yes, Mike. I remember Mike was in we had a last general standing trivia match on Friday. Mike was in it, and he basically answered every question with a Mortal Kombat character. So Juno was directed by Sonya Blade. It's very on brand for Mike.
Very, very on brand.
Nice.
Kels, anything else?
All right. And I think the last question we have is a Streamlabs from Jonathan asking, if you were to headline a Schmodown live event, what city would you want it to be in?
Ooh.
Oh, I love that question. It involves me thinking about leaving Los Angeles and being in a new place. That's a thing I haven't given a lot of thought to in a really long time. God. Well, I love New York, and I haven't been to New York in forever and a day, so I have to say that. But there's also a part of me that like wants to like pick a place I've never been before, or have been very rarely to. Like I've only spent like the briefest amount of time in Chicago, and Chicago would be cool. But yeah, I wish I could go. I wish I could be like, okay, actually, okay. So I picked my big cities. But I did this cross-country road trip like 15 years ago. And I spent like 2 days in this really lovely little town in Ohio called Yellow Springs. And it's notable because it's apparently relatively close to where Dave Chappelle lives. And this was, and it's just like a really peaceful, beautiful like township. And I had a lovely time there. So yeah, I mean, if it's like a, if you're asking small town, I'm gonna go Yellow Springs, Ohio, big city, New York or Chicago.
Very cool.
Yeah,
New York shows are awesome.
All those questions. This is really fun.
Is that it?
That is it. That was the last one.
Great, thank you all.
So Liz, just hang out for just a big thank you so much, Liz, for coming in and hanging out with us. Paul, that's going to be it, right?
That's it. That's it.
Thank you so much to everyone hanging out with us in the chat tonight. We really appreciate it. Make sure that you like this video. Comment on it after if you have anything else for Liz. And also maybe comment your recipe for your disco whiskey in the comment section. Let us know your creations with that. And make sure that you subscribe to the Call to Action channel, C2A2K. We're getting there. So before we head out, Liz, I did not get a chance to tell you this before on the breakdown before, but if you don't mind, after we finish going live, just hanging out with us for a quick second, just after we finish.
Sure. Well, hold on. I'm trying to lure Tank Girl in here.
One last shot. There you go.
I'll let you and Tank Girl let us know where we can find you. Plug all of your socials, Liz.
Okay, where can we found? We can be found. You can go to my website, which is lizshannonmiller.com, which is a compilation of links and so forth to what I'm doing. Social media wise, I wish I was more of an Instagram person, but I'm more of a Twitter person, and so you can find me on Twitter at Lizlet. That's LIZLET, and that's kind of it. My full-time job is I'm TV editor at Collider, so collider.com for all your TV needs. We do a lot of fun stuff there. It's been a great experience being there. And yeah, Tank Girl is not on social media because she is too cool for school.
Fair enough.
She does
True
look
words.
super cool. But then Kelsey,
She's handling this very well, and I'm a little worried that something terrible is about to happen to me. But she's
A lot of your destruction as we speak.
I've never tried holding her like this before. Yes. As long as I pet her, I guess. I think it's acceptable.
Fair enough.
All right. Well, you can find me at KelseyKins90 on Twitter and Instagram. I also run the Call to Action Podcast Instagram, so you can interact with me there. TeePublic, we've got merch. We've got new merch. We got the Last General Standing t-shirt available now, so check that out. And then, of course, you can always find me here on Call to Action Live every week, every Saturday night, where we talk about Schmodown or something. It's fun.
That's true. That's true. Find me at Paul_Denuzio on Twitter. You can find me here every week with my favorite co-host, Danny Joy, on Chilled Action, and my other favorite co-host, Kelsey, on Called Action Live. Usually I'm on that as well. Also, you can find me on Class Action, which is on Action Industries YouTube channel with Ben Bateman and Andrew Guy. Produce their shows as well, so you can find me there. And finally, I do have my own PLD Projects YouTube channel, which right now has been very empty, basically been live hangouts, basically with the like late night after chill episode sometimes when I go live. But I am getting a little time now that we have the reactions slowing down a little bit. It might be able to at least go through my V watch through and talking about V, and hopefully I'll get through that, a little more of that. And then, yeah, who knows? The Renaissance will eventually come out. Eventually, when I get there, I'm threatening it for a while, but someday it will happen.
it'll come out the same day that Watch the Book does.
Probably. It's a race to see which one comes out last.
And the panelists. This is my project. We'll eventually get there.
That's it for me.
And you all know me. It's your girl, Danny Joy. You can find me on Twitter at Danny Joy, DANIEEJOY. You can also find me here every week on the Call to Action Network, hosting Chilled Action with my favorite co-host, Mr. Paul Denuzio, and our lovely Kelsey Kirkland right down there. You can also subscribe to my YouTube channel if you'd like. Just Danielle Armidas, all of that good stuff. Just search for me there. The Aftermath Book Club, the Padawan Book Club will continue. I promise. This week was just crazy busy Schmodown wise. So it was just a lot of stuff to get through. And then as the wheel turns, we'll come back. I promise it will. Maybe not this week, but we'll figure it out. If it does, then I'll let you know. I promise.
Are you going to get to announce any more matches? Because you were great.
Thank you all. Thank you so much, Liz. I really appreciate that. I don't know yet. Maybe, hopefully, but we'll see.
Hopefully. If I can put it, let me know if I should put a good word in or something.
Thank you. That was so much fun. I appreciate you so much being a part of that experience with me. And I genuinely thank you for being so nice to me about everything as well. It's been so great.
No, of course. I mean, I'm not going to name names, but you definitely did not need to do any retapes, unlike some people who actually do this semi-regularly.
That's behind the scenes. Hey. But that's going to be it for us, y'all. Thank you so much again for hanging out with us on this Sunday. We really appreciate it. Make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe on this video. And as always, y'all, we thank you and we salute you. Bye.
See you guys.